Imagine stepping onto a subway, ready for your destination, only to find yourself back on the same platform, again and again. Welcome to the station where the trains loop endlessly. The digital signs promise impossible escapes, and the only other passengers are the silent echoes of those who never left. Could you escape this nightmare, or would you join the spectral commuters? The night it happened to me, I thought it was nothing more than exhaustion, a late shift, a missed dinner, a body running on fumes. I'd taken the subway home dozens of times, drifting off between stops while the rocking motion lulled me into a dreamless haze. But not that night. Not on that train. Not in that station. It began with something almost boring. The dull hum of the train, the warmth of a half-broken overhead light, the kind of atmosphere that makes your eyelids heavy. My phone buzzed in my hand with a text I meant to read, but fatigue won. Closed my eyes for what felt like a second, maybe 10, and when I opened them, the train was slowing to a stop. But instead of the usual jolt of recognizing my stop, I felt disoriented. The subway map above the door had a glitch. A tiny flicker in the LED light, barely noticeable, but enough to register in the back of my mind. One station named Spruck Terminal kept blinking, the letters distorting like someone was typing over them in real time. I didn't know what Eastbrook Terminal was. It didn't exist on my usual line. It didn't exist on any line. The train doors opened with a sluggish hiss. I stepped out automatically, rubbing my eyes, expecting the familiar beige tiles of my home station. Instead, I found a platform that felt wrong, clean, too clean, like it had been scrubbed down minutes ago. The air was stale, unmoving, as my phone had no signal. The time at the top blinked to 47 a.m., then to 47 p.m., then 0 o'clock, before freezing on a blank screen. Great, I muttered. Dead battery, I thought. But the phone was at 72% a moment earlier. I turned my attention to the nearest sign. A digital display flickered overhead, glitching between empty screens and symbols that looked almost like letters, but not quite. Finally, one stable word emerged. Eastbrook Terminal. Again, that same non-existent station. Where the hell am I? I whispered. The station was empty. No workers. No passengers. No echo of movement except the soft hum of electricity. I walked to the edge of the platform, peering down the tracks, expecting distant lights or the faint rush of another train. Nothing. The tunnel was a void so black it seemed to swallow the dim station lights. I looked for an exit. A set of stairs led upward, but when I tried the metal door at the top, it rattled against a lock that shouldn't have been there. Another passage was boarded up, wooden planks nailed haphazardly as if in a hurry. Is this a construction zone? Did the train reroute? My voice felt too loud, like the station was listening. But then another train approached. The sound came first, a low rumble, then a rising metallic screech. A moment later, headlights pierced the darkness. Relief washed over me. Maybe I was just at some emergency stop, some temporary detour. The train pulled in with mechanical precision. The doors slid open. I stepped inside. I didn't even care where it was headed. I just needed service. Movement. Something. But the moment I crossed the doorway, the overhead display blinked on, showing the next stop. And my stomach dropped. Eastbrook Terminal. Still here. Still the same name. The doors closed, the train lurched forward, and for a moment I felt a hopeful shift in momentum. But as the tunnel lights blurred past, something felt off. The ride was too smooth, too silent, the rhythmic clatter of wheels on track on. The faint whistle of passing air gone. It's just a dead, suffocating quiet. When the train slowed again, dread crept up my spine. Doors opened. I stepped out and froze. I was back at the same platform, the same trash bin, the same graffiti scribble, the same flickering light, the same impossible, non-existent station. A loop. I had ridden the train in a circle, but that wasn't how subways worked. Not like this. Returning in under a minute. Panic set in, sharp and cold. I went to the opposite platform. Another train approached. I boarded. Same result. I tried again and again. Each time, no matter which direction I chose, no matter how long the train rode in darkness, it always ended the same. Eastbrook Terminal. My chest tightened. "This isn't real," I whispered. "This can't be real." That's when I saw the first one. Not a person, at least, not anymore. A figure stood at the far end of the platform, faintly lit by a dying bulb overhead. Tall, thin, with slumped shoulders, almost translucent, like a reflection in a dusty mirror. He held a newspaper in front of him, but his hands trembled with a slow, unnatural rhythm, like someone copying the idea of reading rather than actually doing it. I stepped back. My foot scuffed the floor. The figure didn't react, didn't look up, didn't breathe. A second figure appeared near a bench, a woman dressed in an old-fashioned coat clutching a worn leather suitcase. Her face was soft around the edges, not because of poor lighting, because it seemed unfinished, like it was fading. I opened my mouth to speak, but the words stuck. Every instinct in my body screamed, "They are not alive." And then more of them appeared. Fleeting shapes. Soft silhouettes. People repeating old motion-stapping shoes, adjusting glasses, pacing with no urgency. Their forms flickered, as though caught between two realities. One walked straight through a trash bin without disturbing it. Another sat on a bench but never actually touched it. They weren't ghosts. Not exactly. They were echoes, remnants. Passengers of the past, stuck in the same loop I was, trapped long enough to lose their solidity. Their identity, their humanity. My breath hitched. No, this isn't happening. I backed away until my shoulder hit one of the digital sign poles. It flickered violently at the impact, cycling through dozens of messages in a language I couldn't recognize. Then it froze. New words appeared. Train arriving, escape possible. My heart jumped. Escape how? The sign shifted again. Follow the pattern. Then listen. Then the screen glitched so fast, it became a blur of colors before going dark. As if on cue, an overhead announcement crackled to life. Next. Stop. SSS. ZZZ. Termin SSST. Remain calm. SSSS. Error. The voice was distorted, not human. Like something trying to imitate speech without understanding the rhythm of it. Echoes didn't react. They never reacted. But I did. I ran. Not toward the trains, but down the length of the platform, searching for any passage I might have missed. My footsteps echoed too loudly in the cavernous space. The figures didn't turn, didn't look. But the air around them seemed to grow colder as I passed, as if my movement stirred something in the stale atmosphere. At the far end of the platform, tucked behind a row of disused lockers, I found a maintenance door. No lock, just rust. I yanked it open. A narrow utility corridor stretched ahead, lit only by a dim emergency strip glowing along the floor. The air smelled metallic and damp. I followed the corridor. It twisted left, then right, then straight for what felt like far too long. Whenever I checked behind me, the entrance was gone, swallowed by the darkness. The hum of electricity grew louder, almost like a heartbeat. Eventually, I reached another door. A small window showed the faint tint of station lights beyond it. I pushed it open and stepped back onto the platform of Eastbrook Terminal. My knees almost buckled. I staggered forward, gripping my hair with both hands. No. I walked straight. The station was darker now. The overhead lights flickered, as if struggling for power. The echoes stood in slightly different places, their forms more distorted. As if time, whatever time meant here, was passing faster for them. The digital signs flickered again. One word appeared, slow and deliberate. Stay. Then another. Accept. Then the screen glitched violently and went black. No, I whispered. I'm not staying. I'm not becoming one of you. A familiar rumble echoed down the tunnel. Train. But something about the sound felt different. Heavier. Slower. Distorted like an audio file, corrupted with static. The headlights emerged, flickering like old film projection. I should have backed away. I should have known better. But desperation is louder than fear. The train screeched to a stop. The doors opened. No passengers, but the interior lights buzzed like angry insects. I stepped inside cautiously. The door slammed shut behind me. The train lurched forward so violently I grabbed a pole to keep from falling. The display above the door flickered. Braced myself for Eastbrook Terminal. Instead, something impossible appeared. West Haven Crossing. A real station. A station that existed. A station I knew. Relief flooded my body so fast I nearly cried. "Please," I begged aloud, "please be real. Please take me there." The tunnel lights passed in a blur, finally normal, finally rhythmic. When the train slowed, my heart raced with cautious hope. It stopped. The doors opened. I stepped out, froze. I was back in Eastbrook Terminal, but it wasn't the same anymore. The lights were dimmer, the air colder. The echoes clustered closer, their forms now barely human. The sign overhead glowed with a sickly green light. It displayed one sentence: "You cannot leave." My vision blurred. My throat tightened. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I backed away slowly. The echoes shifted their heads toward me. Not quickly, not dramatically, just slightly, enough to tell me they saw me now. Before, they were repeating motions of their old lives. Now, they were aware of me, of my panic, my desperation. My footsteps felt loud to loud as I moved along the platform. I turned just in time to see one of the echoes, a man with no discernible facial features, standing inches behind me. I stumbled back, heart slamming against my ribs. His form flickered in and out, like a badly tuned channel. He raised one hand, not aggressively, not threateningly, but slowly, almost pleadingly. I stepped away, flickered again, and suddenly he was farther, standing with the others like he had reset. Like the station wouldn't let them get too close, at least not yet. The digital signs flickered once more. A new message: "You are late." Another flash: "Join them." Another: "Time to rest." My breath trembled. "No," I whispered. "No, I'm not staying. I'm not dying here." But even as I said the words, the trains began to arrive again. One after another. Rapid, unnatural, mechanical. The doors opened to empty cars. The inside displays all read the same word now, except. I looked around desperately for anything, any clue, any anomaly. That's when I saw it. A single, old, faded poster half torn on the wall. It hadn't been there earlier. It showed a vintage subway car with the words, "Sleepers beware. Do not doze beyond the final stop." Underneath, handwritten in shaky pen, "They keep who they find." It felt like a message from someone once, like me, someone who didn't make it. My pulse pounded in my ears. I ran toward the opposite end of the platform again, heart racing, but instead of taking the maintenance corridor, I ducked behind a pillar, crouching low. My instincts screamed that the station wanted me to move, to panic, to run in circles until I broke. So I forced myself still, breathing quiet, eyes steady, waiting, and something changed. The echoes didn't move, trains didn't arrive, the lights didn't flicker. Everything froze, like the station was confused. I slowly stepped out from behind the pillar. A single overhead light, one that had been flickering since the beginning, glowed steadily now. I walked toward it. The temperature felt warmer beneath it, the hum softer. Something in my chest told me this was right. A soft chime echoed, not from a train, but from behind me. I turned. A new door, one I hadn't noticed before, was slightly ajar. Faint daylight leaked through the cracks. Actual daylight. I ran to it, threw it open. White light swallowed my vision. My ears rang. My chest tightened. And then I gasped. I was standing on a street. A normal street. Cars honking. People walking. The sun rising. My phone buzzed with notifications. The time read 6:12 a.m. I stood there trembling, half expecting the world to flicker or glitch or reset. It didn't. But when I turned back toward the subway entrance, there was no sign for Eastbrook Terminal, no boarded-up passages. Just an ordinary station I'd used 100 times. I walked backwards slowly, unwilling to get too close. The entrance looked normal, too normal. A breeze blew past me. For a second it sounded like whispering. I didn't go back underground. I never took that subway line again. For days, I swore I saw faint reflections behind megalimmers of the echoes, hovering at the edge of my vision. Sometimes when I pass a vent or a grate, I hear the familiar chime of a train pulling in. And once, just once, I saw a digital sign flicker on my phone screen, even though it wasn't connected to anything. It said, "Next stop, Eastbrook Terminal," and in the reflection of the glass, for just a breath, I saw a transparent figure standing behind me. Not threatening, not malicious, just watching. Waiting. Maybe the station let me go. Maybe it thinks I'll return. Maybe I never truly escaped at all. But every night, when I close my eyes, I feel the rumble of a train pulling into a platform that shouldn't exist. And sometimes, when I dream, I step off the train and see the same flickering light and realize I'm back there again. Maybe someday I won't wake up before I become one of those echoes. Maybe someday I'll join the permanent commuters, the ones who never leave. But until then, I'll keep telling this story as a warning. Because if you ever fall asleep on the subway, if you ever wake up in a station whose name you don't recognize, if your phone stops working and the signs flicker with impossible messages, run. Don't trust the trains. Don't trust the exits. Don't trust your senses. The station chooses who gets to leave. It doesn't like to let go. Subscribe now and let every night whisper to you.